Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party promoted the idea that German people were superior to others. This prejudice against other people led to many of the horrific acts of the war.
What is prejudice? Have you ever experienced it?
Prejudice, in my opinion, is hate. It's the same thing as hate. Hate for one person or a group of people.
I guess it would be that you're judged for something before someone actually knows about you and what your beliefs are and your personality.
I think people hate because they don't always have the whole story. They don't take the time to think about other people and think about the other side of a situation.
I think people hate because they're brought up that way. You really take on what your parents teach you.
When my father came to work one day, there was a sign saying, "Go home, foreigner."
I think the reason for hatred is jealousy. That reason people hate is because they're jealous of someone else.
Prejudice is racism or judgment, stereotypes against a specific group of people.
People look too much at the outside and those differences than the fact that we're all people, you know, we're really not different.
Only a short time after Adolf Hitler became the German Chancellor, head of the government, in 1933, he created new policies to purge German culture of what he called bad influences. The most savage of Hitler's policies was his program to kill all people he judged racially inferior. The isolation and mass murder of these people has become known as the Holocaust.
Das, was hier steht, ist keine Redensart.
Hitler targeted Slavs, Gypsies, the mentally ill, and other non-Germanic people. But the Jews were at the top of his list. Why do you think Hitler wanted to destroy Slavs, Gypsies, Jews, and the mentally ill? Hitler had special concentration camps built and used trains to transport his millions of victims there.
They lined us up for a march to the railroad station. The railroad station in my city was bombed already, so we had to walk I don't know how many kilometers. We came to the station, and there we saw the big boxcars. No windows, nothing. Big doors opened up. They shoved us into those cars. They didn't count how many. Those are called cattle cars. Why are they called cattle cars? That were used to transport cattle, cows and horses.
Once inside the camps, mothers and fathers were separated from each other and from their children. Everyone was forced to wait outside until the Nazi guards could decide who to kill first.
When we arrived on the station, this lady we find out is Auschwitz, Oświęcim, and we saw people in zebra clothing. We don't understand what this is. And the lady, we saw the SS open the doors from the cattle cars, and they start to yell, everybody, out, out. All the women left, the men right. So you don't know what to do with your mother and here. You're in what's really a hell. This moment, I never forget.
My brother was sent to the men's camp. My mom, who was at that time 46, she was sent to the left. I found myself at the age of 16, all alone.
The Jews were forced to do slave labor in the camps. With little food and even less sleep, they worked to support the Nazi war machine. Sometimes when there was little to do, the Nazis would make their prisoners perform meaningless tasks to control them. What reasons do you think the Nazis had for wanting to control their prisoners?
In the morning, they woke you up really early, and they counted you. They made you roll call. You stood there for hours. It was called a bell. You stood there. They counted you and counted you. Why can't you? There was no place to escape. You were surrounded with 2 rows of electric wires, guards around and around. After counting us and giving us the little food, they chased us to do different jobs. Every day you did so. They took, let's say, 50 women, 100 women. You go sweep the street. You go clean the bathrooms. You go do this. You go do that.
And was all kind of work, was digging holes. Some, like I was working later on digging pits. But later we found out what we are doing, that this is pits for people or they get them and the crematorium could not burn. So they brought here hundred of bodies and later was they burned them. So this was the work.
The Nazis killed millions with deadly efficiency. When they were no longer able to work, prisoners were marched into gas chambers. Their bodies were burned in crematoria, or vast furnaces, and their ashes were scattered.
The crematoria were going day and night. These gas chambers were going day and night. During the day, there was just black smoke coming out that you saw, and when the wind was in the direction of the camp, the ashes fell down mixed with small splinters of bone.
Though the Nazi forces were a powerful military force, the Allied forces of the United States, France, Britain, and the Soviet Union were stronger. Allied troops cut through German defenses in 1945 and began making their way into Germany. As the Allies moved deeper into German territory, the Nazis began destroying the death camps. What are some of the reasons that the Nazis would want to hide evidence of the death camps?
The camps were shut down long before the arrival of the Red Army, and there the Germans had time to manicure the grounds a little bit and to try, if not totally successfully, to erase traces of killing centers that had been established in these locations. Not only was it the question of destroying the buildings or other facilities, but also of what to do with the labor force that was in these camps that had not been gassed and which had to be marched out over long distances to some other place.
By April of 1945, the Nazis were unable to hide the large-scale evidence of the camps. Allied soldiers started finding them as they began penetrating Nazi territory.
Looked like a castle, the Smarthausen, and the walls were 10 foot high. There were electrified fences to keep the inmates from trying to get out, and some of them were so weak they couldn't get out even if it didn't have guards. They couldn't. They were starving to death. We'd heard rumors that there were concentration camps, that there were prisoners there, but we didn't expect to see human skeletons. And we still can't fathom how people could look so thin and be alive. The people that were able to just hugged us and kissed us, their faces were thin and haggard from lack of food. In most cases, they were all starving.
Disease, starvation, and dehydration were so commonplace in the camps that many prisoners could not even walk. Allied soldiers gave people food and water and did the best they could to improve living conditions. But there was nothing the soldiers could do about the horror and death the prisoners had been forced to live through.
He was thinking, you are free. A bird go out from the cage, how she fly free. This how was with us. We was jumping. We could not walk much, but we was jumping in the place. Each one was kissing. Look, now somebody started to yell, where's my mother? Where's my father? Now started tragedy.
The Nazis wanted to destroy all people they thought were different, but they failed. The Holocaust is a reminder of how inhumanity can reach deadly proportions and a warning that it should never happen again. Did you know? Former President Dwight Eisenhower was one of the Allies' greatest military leaders during World War II. He insisted on having the concentration camps photographed so that others could see how the German prisoners had been forced to live and die.